What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the the Tuesday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I am your host, Josh Harris. Nice little snowy day in New Jersey here. Joining me, as always, Slim Cliffy. How's your weekend?
Oh, it's a good weekend. Good. Thanks for the holiday yesterday, so I got to watch hockey for most of the day. I didn't catch the early games, but did catch Carolina, Los Angeles. I spent the weekend slandering Drew Doughty and Mikey Anderson, and then they go and have two of their best games of the season in their last two games against Detroit and Carolina. That's kind of how it goes. Anybody out there needs me to slander their team to kind of motivate them a little bit, I am available for a small fee. Montreal had a good game last night. I mean, Colorado is what it is. Colorado's on this slate. They're the first team that we're talking about. They're running out of players to play. They had shifts last night where they had two defensemen playing up front. So, there was four defensemen on the ice with one forward. Very interesting team, to say the least, at the moment. Interesting slate is one way to put it here ahead tonight. I will say there are a bunch of teams on a back-to-back: Colorado, Seattle, Anaheim, Los Angeles, New York, San Jose are all on a back-to-back. So there's going to be a lot of late news tonight. There's obviously the big contest on DraftKings. So just a heads up to everybody that, don't just set your lineup right after the show and then forget about it until tomorrow, because could be a lot that changes at 5 o'clock Eastern when we get the coach's availability, and certainly at 6:30 Eastern once warm-up start.
Yeah, and the 111 is already full 5 hours before lock. 1,001 person field. They initially released a 670 person field, and a couple of people absolutely blasted them on Twitter. They took it down. They put up the 1,001 person field filled over 5 hours early. Just awful shit from DraftKings, but we are not surprised at this point. It is what it is. They did release that 555 for NBA All-Star break. That is $1 million prize pool with $200K to first. That's going to be a scene. They actually released it a month early so they can show how big it is, so people will chase tickets, because after this fiasco with the 111, they could have made this a 1,500-man field easily. It would have filled. But, it is what it is at this point. I just like yelling into the void on X about it, or Twitter. I don't even know what it's called. But if you're in that field tonight, good luck. This slate is an absolute festival. Got two games with a 7 total. We have Sharks at Chicago. I would say it doesn't get much worse than that, but at least it's not separate teams playing the Sharks in Chicago. At least they're playing themselves, I guess. I'm just trying to inhaling the copium on this slate, but it is.
I was thinking, is that better, really? Because, if it was Chicago and Vegas and San Jose at home to I don't know, I'll even say Minnesota or something like that, there would be lines I would immediately cross off. Because they're playing each other, you actually have to kind of consider both sides, which I think it might be worse. It'd be worth a discussion.
Yeah, and if you looked at the top stacks, there is a lot of ownership on Chicago, which, if I didn't have a migraine from my son sleeping 26 minutes last night, I definitely have one now after seeing that ownership. But we should get into the slate. It's an 8-gamer. We'll break it down for you. Don't you worry. But before we do, thank you guys so much for the support recently. Got over the weekend, we got, I think, a bunch of signups. Thank you guys so much. Also, as I mentioned, you can always go through our affiliate link to any membership. I will be starting MMA content again this week. I will be doing a short pick'em video. Normally it will go up on the Stochastic YouTube. However, this week we started it a bit late, so I'm going to tweet it out either, I don't know, tomorrow, Thursday, or Friday. I haven't figured out when I'm going to do it. It'll be a short pick'em video. We have MMA Sims now. You can sign up through the affiliate link for that. I'm really excited to try out the MMA Sims, but this is a hockey show. I am going to plug my content, though. Cliffy's article, always free to read on the big slates, stochastic.com/NHL. Just thank you guys so much for the support through the affiliate link and through the super chats. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys, and we truly mean that. Let's get into this slate. Seattle Kraken with a 2.3 total. Heading into New York, the Rangers have a 3.2. It's crazy how much one player makes a difference for the Rangers, and it's like Capo Caco is not a massive impact player for the Rangers, but he just puts people back where they're supposed to go, and he is responsible defensively. So that top line goes from being pretty bad defensively with Blake Wheeler there to actually good defensively with him there. Moves Wheeler down the lineup. Cascade effect. That being said, Seattle's missing Matty Beniers. They're missing Andre Burakovsky, Vinny Dunn, Adam Larson. They played yesterday. Decord went yesterday, so it's probably going to be Chris Dridger in net tonight because Grubauer's on IR. This team's a mess. This is 3-4 for the Rangers. Like they had a home and home with Washington over the weekend. They won one, they lost one. I like Rangers here. And normally we don't really like stacking against Seattle just because they're like, every line is good. Every line plays 13, 14, 15 minutes. They're good defensively. They've been good on the penalty kill. Decord has been good. But like Chris Dridger, I was high on him when he was on Florida, I'll be honest. And he just hasn't lived up to whatever that was in Florida. They're missing Beniers. That cascades down the lineup. Rangers 2 has been unbelievable all season. They're under 20,000 still. They're coming in with positive leverage. I like them here. You want to go to Rangers 1, I think that's fine. They're, 40 or 3,800 less than Rangers 2, depending on how you want to build. They have a much lower top 2 stock percentage. So, for me, my favorite is Rangers 2. On the Seattle side, like I don't have a ton of interest. If anything, it would be Bjorkstrand, Tolvanen, and Gord as a filler. But like trying to figure out when they're going to go off. I said something in Discord. It's like every 19th game when the moon is in the waxing gibbous phase or something, like they'll have a correlated scoring game. It's a 2.3 road total. They had the lowest total on the slate. That includes the Sharks in Chicago. So like not much interest there. This is Rangers 2 game for me.
Yeah, just notes on those injuries. Like Matty Beniers is on the injury reserve, so he's not coming back. I don't think Andre Burakovsky is going to play either. They called up a defenseman late last night after their game. That would indicate to me that not only is Vince Dunn probably not playing because it was Riker Evans in for him, I believe, that Adam Larson won't be playing either. He left the game last night after the first period. If you look at his shift chart, it's kind of funny. He tried to play like a few normal shifts, and then he had a couple shifts where he lasted like 20 seconds maybe, and then he was done after the first period. They said it's an illness. I can't imagine like they just run him right back out 24 hours later. I mean, we'll find out at warmups. Those are pretty big losses, obviously. Like Larson hasn't had the best season, but Vince Dunn has. Like he's really, really good. He plays a lot of minutes. A lot of important minutes, great puck mover, very good defensively. Like those are big losses. Back to back on the road without Joey Decord in net. So I'm kind of with you. I do like the Rangers. I have Rangers 2 in my picks article today. We always talk about on the show, when a line stays together for a long time, you try to keep like a rolling average almost of how they're playing as the season goes along. Like this line, 3.6 expected goals per 60 minutes over their last 10 games, 13 goals in their last 130 minutes together. It's like a goal every 10 minutes at 5-on-5. That's about a goal a game. They've just been absolutely tearing up the opposition. The note that I made is like, even there are times where we talk about leaving off the third wheel, like Capo Caco on the top line, for example. I wouldn't necessarily advocate for that, but like Lafreniere would be a guy that sometimes you think about leaving off. Like he's up to 3.5 shots per game over those last 10 games. Like he's even like regularly getting around or over 18 minutes a night. So with all those injuries that Seattle has, like I still think Seattle would be a good defensive team. I just think there's a difference between being an elite defensive team and a good defensive team, and then going from what Joey Decord has been basically for like the last month to Chris Driedger, who, you know, if they were healthy, wouldn't even be on the roster. Like, that's just kind of the way it is. So I agree with you. I do like Rangers 2 here in this matchup. You bring up their top stacks. They do have, I think it's the fourth highest top stack percentage of any line on the slate tonight. The highest of any non-Oiler, Leaf, Avalanche line. 6.9% ownership on DraftKings here tonight. They are expensive, but I think, you know, considering how good they've been, like, that's actually kind of cheap when you think of how good, like, they really are. And I don't even mind the lack of power play correlation, because Seattle is a team that doesn't take a lot of penalties, right? Like, they're at 2.8 minor penalties per game since American Thanksgiving, which is like, what, 7 weeks ago now? Like, they just don't take a lot of penalties, and their penalty kill is still generally very good. So I really do like Rangers too. They would be the line that I would focus. Like, I don't have a particular problem going to Rangers 1, especially with Kako back there. Like, they do generate a lot. They got to start finishing on those chances, but they do generate a lot. I just think, you know, play the better line, and it's Rangers 2. On the Seattle side, you know, that Gord, Tolvin, and Bjorkstrand line, like, we missed them when they went off a couple of games ago. They've been generating a lot of offense basically since Christmas. Like, I was looking at their numbers since Christmas. 82 shot attempts, 3.8 expected goals per 60 minutes. Like, they have been playing exceptionally well. I just don't think this is necessarily a great matchup for them. But honestly, like, I'll bring up the top stacks. That one, Gord, Tolvin, and Bjorkstrand line, 1.2% top two stack percentage, 1.2% ownership, 12,700 on DraftKings. Like, it's not the best spot for them, but if you're playing a lot of lineups, there aren't going to be many times when this line basically comes in at its top two stack probability, right? Like, a lot of the times it's like 1.5% top two probability, and then like 6% ownership, 8% ownership, you know, in good matchups, 10, 12% ownership. It's not often it's going to be this low. So if I were playing a lot of lineups tonight, I wouldn't, you know, really, I wouldn't target them, but I wouldn't hate using them as a filler line, considering how many expensive lines there are on the slate that are definitely in play. But it is the Rangers side that I do like best, and it's Rangers 2 that's really catching my eye in this game.
Yeah, and like, I'm not really sure how the Rangers are going to match at home with Seattle. They don't really hard match anyway. But if that Bjorkstrand line does see some bottom six matchups, I mean, like, let's be real. Like, the Rangers' fourth line is trash. Wheeler on the third line without, like, Trocheck and Hedl, garbage. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, maybe Vegas is overcompensating a little bit with Kako being back because he's good defensively and it kind of cascades down the lineup, but it still doesn't cover up the fact that, like, their bottom six is pretty poor defensively. Outside of Fox, their defense has been pretty bad, so, like, I don't mind taking a stab there. Man, I just crushed my own team. It's going to be a long show. Colorado Avalanche with a 3.5 total heading into Ottawa. The Senators have a 3.4 total this game. This is a game.
This is definitely a game that's on the slate here today.
Yeah. Whew. Because, like, Johnny Drouin has 25 points on the season. 10 of them have come on the power play. That's 40% of his production. That's very Ryan Nugent-Hopkins of last year-esque. Like, he hasn't been doing too much 5-on-5, but, like, it doesn't matter because that power play has just been steamrolling people. And Ottawa is an absolute train wreck right now. They're starting Mad Sogard because the coach said Korpisalo has some iffy career numbers against Colorado. That feels like Binder Joe Girardi making a move. Like, that's just an awful reason to start Mad Sogard coming up from the AHL. Just say you want to get him some reps or something. Like, that's coach speak for I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Anyway, how do you not consider Colorado in here? It's an 8-game slate with Johnny Drouin there. Their top two stack percentage, 43.8%. On a 3-game slate, they were in the 60s. This is an 8-game slate. They're in the 40s. They're coming with positive leverage. They are the highest owned stack of the night by far, 30%. They're 22,400. I think Colorado 1's fine. I think Ross Colton as a one-off is fine. That line as a whole is 9K, and they're coming in way over-owned. 0.4% top two stack, 8.2% ownership. I don't think you need to have Joel, like you can leave Joel Kiviranta off. You can go Colton O'Connor, or you can make some weird, power play stack, go like McKinnon, Colton, McCarr, just try to get some power play guys across the board, you know what I mean? But like Colorado power play, heavily in play here. The Ottawa side is where it gets interesting because you have Colorado 1. With Drouin there, they're not the best defensively. And then after that, it's a mess because Nishushkin's out, Lekkonen's out, Wood's out. As Cliffy mentioned at the top, there was defensemen playing up front. Like, you're going to see Grieg, Giroux, Kachuk probably get that random matchup a bunch. I really don't trust the Ottawa coach to, where I could say that's probably what's going to happen. But I kind of like the Stützle, Batherson, Tarasenko line. Like, I'm a Grieg guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm thankful to sweet baby Jesus that it's not Josh Norris up there. But I think I prefer Ottawa 2 here. Stützle, Batherson, Tarasenko. You get 2 of the 3 guys in the top power play. Colorado played yesterday. They lost to Montreal. Georgiev went, so it's probably going to be Prosvetov in that. He hasn't been great. This isn't the worst game on the slate compared to San Jose, Chicago, but I don't really want to like this game. But honestly, both sides are heavily in play for me.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a great matchup for Colorado, flat out. Ottawa has been a pretty bad defensive team basically all season. What I mentioned in my picks article, free to read over on Stokastic.com, as you mentioned, I wrote up about Ross Colton. He's on the top power play unit. You mentioned how good Colorado's power play has been. Colorado's top power play unit has 23 goals in their last 20 games, over 8 goals per game on the power play for the last quarter of the season. It's incredible. Ottawa, in the meantime, since hiring Jacques Martin as the full-time coach, 11 power play goals against in 12 games. So they're not doing so well. At 5-on-5, since hiring Jacques Martin, Ottawa is 30th by shots against per 60 minutes, 31st by expected goals against, 31st by actual goals against. They are just an abysmal defensive team. Here's the thing. Colorado's been playing, they have been playing their top guys a lot. McKinnon played almost 29 minutes last night in a regulation game against the Montreal Canadiens. That's where this team is at right now, is that they needed him to play nearly half the game against a team that's probably the 6th worst team, 7th worst team in the league. And they've been having to do that for a while now, not to that extreme, but certainly a lot of 23, 24, 25-minute games. One, you got to wonder eventually, are they just going to get tired? Are they just going to eventually just have a night off where they're just tired and, they've got Boston coming up on Thursday. Maybe they're looking ahead to that and looking past Ottawa or whatever. I have no problem playing Colorado 1 because Edmonton maybe, but Ottawa is so bad defensively everywhere that I have no problem playing Colorado 1 whatsoever. And you talk about, their extreme top 2 stack percentage. It is high, 43.8%. 30% ownership on DraftKings. That is a lot of ownership. Here's the thing is I think taking Josh Norris away from the top line is one of those addition by subtraction kind of situations. I don't think people realize just how bad Josh Norris has really been this year. I'm going to go through some of the scoring chances per 60 minutes, 1 standard deviation below average. Scoring chance contributions per 60 minutes, 1 standard deviation below average. High danger assists, 1 standard deviation below average. Offense generated both off the cycle and off the rush, 1 standard deviation below the league average. Exits per 60 minutes out of his defensive zone, 1 standard deviation below league. I could go on and on. This guy has been terrible this year. On the flip side, you got Ridley Grigg on the top line with Brady Tkachuk. And that's something that I brought up again in the picks article today when I wrote about Brady Tkachuk. 18% more expected goals and 71% more actual goals when Tkachuk has literally anybody else but Josh Norris as his center this year. Whether it was Stützle, whether it was Grigg, I think Claude Giroux even played center for one game. He's just been a lot better offensively, even a little bit better defensively without Josh Norris there. And I just wrote up Ridley Grigg for a different website. I don't think people realize just how good he's been in a small sample. Like his last 48 games, he's played 48 games in the NHL over the last 2 years. Okay. In those 48 games, he leads Ottawa in primary assists at 5-on-5 by a mile. And I went back and watched his assists, and a lot of it is that he's creating them in different ways, whether it's a great individual play, whether it's creating havoc down low, and like he's a disturber, like that's what he is. He's kind of a pest. Whether it's an area pass, like he is finding different ways to get those assists. And his primary assist rate over the last 2 seasons is top 10 in the NHL. And he's been really good defensively. I think Grigg is a massive, massive upgrade for that Ottawa top line. And that's what kind of worries me, is that from the Colorado side is like maybe this Ottawa top line is the best that it's been this season with Grigg there. And, you know, we need a bigger sample from Grigg, but it's like everything has looked up for him since he stepped foot in the NHL. So I have no problem with Colorado 1. I have no problem with Ottawa 1. I like Brady Tkachuk as a one-off quite a bit here tonight, actually. You know, say what we will about Jacques Martin. Since he got hired, Brady Tkachuk is over 4 shots per game. I think he has 10 points in his last 10 games as well. So, like, he's been just fine offensively. But I think I kind of agree with you on Ottawa, too, is 3.5 expected goals for that second line for Ottawa, 4.2 actual goals. You get 2 out of the 3 guys on the top power play unit. They're going to be going into whatever Colorado's second line is at the time. Like for Colorado, it's basically just whatever 3 guys are probably closest to the coach, or 2 guys plus Ross Colton is whatever their second line is going to be. Colorado doesn't take a ton of penalties, but Ottawa does draw a fair amount of power plays. I think this is a good spot for Ottawa too. Whether you want to go with the top line or the second line, top stacks doesn't really differentiate much between the two. They have a little bit of lower ownership on that second line. If you want to take out Tarasenko and add in Tkachuk, make it more of a power play stack, I think that's fine. But it is Ottawa too that I really do like in this game. But again, with how many minutes Colorado is playing and how good that power play is, I'll never say no to playing that top line.
Yeah. Hold on. My internet is like buffering here. Can you hear me?
Yep. You're good to go.
Here we go. Also, someone in chat said, I think Pravsvitov is out. Maybe Justice Anuin. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
No.
After you get past Georgiev, it's a big drop off the hill. So I like Ottawa. I like Colorado too, but like 30%. Do I like Colorado enough to play them at 30% tonight? We'll see. It's good. It's a great power play spot, so maybe. Let's talk about a fun game here. And by fun, I mean I would rather get a colonoscopy unsedated. Anaheim Ducks with a 2.6 total. Heading into Washington, the Capitals have a 3.4 total. Ovechkin is out. Zegras obviously out in Tokyo.
They said Ovechkin's officially
We're going to call him Minty. Okay. So Ovechkin's game time decision. Zegras definitely out. Minty out.
Yeah, but sorry to cut you off again. They said Ovechkin's a game time decision, but they practiced their power play this morning, and Ovechkin didn't get on either power play unit. I can't imagine he plays without that power play practice, but you know, I've been surprised before. It's the NHL. They just make it up as they go along, so we'll see.
Yeah, and who knows? The Cadbury Egg Bunny or whatever the coach's name is, he could be weird. Little gamesmanship there. Got to have some gamemanship for the Ducks. You know what I mean? There is so much ownership on the Capitals tonight. If Ovechkin's out, the lines are going to be Strome, Pacioretty, Oshie, Wilson, McMichael, Protas. and then Mantha, Kuznetsov, Pierre's chocolate. I don't know. I want to like the Ducks here. I'm having a moment. I need to chew it over with some Twix. But like, I want to like the Ducks. I brought it up to you. I said, why not play the Ducks here? Their total seems low. They're missing, probably their best 2 puck-moving defensemen since, Drysdale got traded and Minty's out. They do have Fowler. He's decent puck mover. Jackson Lacombe, still green, we should say, but like he's okay. The good ass, he's just a ass. But like the Capitals suck. And Carlson, Terry, Killorn, 14,100, coming in a little under 4%. Like, I'm not saying run out to play them in 1 to 3. Like, the Caps, all the Caps lines are miserable defensively. Like, the deficiency that the Ducks have without the puck-moving defenseman can be cured by the Caps being awful. So, I don't know. I don't mind Carlson, Terry, Killorn. I even don't mind McTavish, Henrique, Strome. I prefer Carlson, Terry. It's just what to do with the Caps here, because this is a very good power play spot. It's just like I don't know. Like, it's 2024. And TJ Oshie and Max Pacioretty are on top lines with Dylan Strome. Like, I don't mind that line in a nutshell. It's just like they're coming in almost 12% owned with the top 2 stack of under 5%. Like, they're fine. And they're in a great spot. There's just other lines in that $12,000 to $14,000 range that I can play for 3% that I like just as much. And I don't have to worry about like Oshie pulling a hamstring because he's 800 years old. I don't have to worry about Pacioretty. I don't know. Like, I'm the notorious Caps fader. I'm trying to talk myself into him. It's not working. What do you got?
So I did write up Max Pacioretty in the picks article, basically for this reason. Like, I think having him with Dylan Strome is pretty important for Pacioretty, because I'm on the record as saying that I think Dylan Strome is the team's only good center. You want to throw in Nick Dowd as a good checking center. Like, I won't argue with that. But like, Kuznetsov is cooked. Like, let's just face facts. And I like, Connor McMichael has been pretty good. Like, not pretty good, has been decent this season. I don't think he's a guy that can carry, Max Pacioretty to, 20 goals over the next 40 games or whatever. Dylan Strome has really good playmaking numbers. Him and Pacioretty have been good in a small sample so far this year. Like, 3 expected goals per 60, and they're 70, I think it's like 74 minutes together. Not a lot, but that's a lot better than what you see from most Washington lines. So like, they are coming in over-owned. I wouldn't argue with playing Washington because this is a really good spot. It's like, if there was a game where you would think Washington can put like 5 goals on the board, it's Anaheim on the road back-to-back without Drysdale, Mintyukov, and Zegras all in the lineup. Like, it's one of those situations, right? But it is the Anaheim side I like better. Like, Mintyukov is out, and that sucks because he's been pretty good this year. Leo Carlson's been absolutely incredible. Like, I know like the raw point totals aren't there. Watch any Anaheim game. He creates zone entries and then scoring chances off those zone entries basically at will against almost anybody. And that's a terrifying thing to see from a rookie who's on a bad team. And, that top line has been like good, not great. 2.6 expected goals, 2.2 expected goals for, 2.2 expected goals against. Like, they're carrying the play. Problem is that they're shooting 4.3% at 5-on-5. So they're not finishing. And that's kind of been a problem for Anaheim basically this entire season. But it's like, if there's a spot where you could start finishing, isn't it against this bad Caps team with Kemper? That's kind of the other thing that I'm thinking of. There's not a ton of ownership on them either. 3.9% ownership at 14,100 on DraftKings tonight. Like when I talk about those zone entries, like Leo Carlsson's literally amongst the super elite in the NHL in zone entries per 60, controlled zone entry percentage, which means like successes minus failures, creating scoring chances off his zone entries. Like there are things that you see in his profile that are like Kirill Kaprizov and Nikita Kucherov-esque. And I'm not saying that lightly. I mean that literally when you look at his track games played, that's what it is. It is absolutely insane what this guy has done. The one problem is that they haven't been able to finish on the chances that they're creating. This seems like a pretty good matchup for it. Like, as good as the Washington top line of Strome and Pacioretty has been offensively, and they've been good, they've been worse defensively. You know, that Connor McMichael line, 3.4 expected goals against, and I don't imagine they get any Evgeny Kuznetsov line as good defensive numbers this year. This seems like a pretty good matchup. So I like Anaheim 1 row back-to-back. But it's like almost half this slate is a road back-to-back. Like, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, eventually you're going to have to get to some of those teams. And this feels like one spot where it might not be a bad idea to do it. So I do like Anaheim 1 here. I don't have any problem playing the Strome Pacioretty line. Like, I wrote up Max Pacioretty in the picks article for a reason. Like, this is a really good spot against an Anaheim team giving up 5.2 power plays per game over the last 7 weeks. Like, if there's ever a time for the Washington power play to score, it would be tonight. But I just think, considering that they're coming in with a lot lower ownership and basically the same top 2 stack percentage, a little bit lower, I like the Carlsson line from Anaheim side here in this game.
Me too. And I'll just throw a disclaimer out there: we're Ducks slappies, okay? Like we've been on the Ducks train since the bubble season. Now, if you want to play Ducks tonight,
I mean, we ever get Zegras and Terry on a line, it's like,
we're playing them. 1.7 total on the road against Bergeron. We're playing them. You know what I mean? But like, here's the thing. Here's a little disclaimer. You want to play Ducks tonight? I might play Ducks tonight. If you guys play Ducks and it fails, I'll fall on the sword for you guys. I'll take the heat. You can yell at me on Twitter. I deserve it. Okay. If it fails and you're mad because we talked you into it, yell at me. There we go. Thank you guys so much again for the support. We go from yelling at me to supporting us. You guys are the best. Like, honestly, like, I don't know what I was expecting when we switched to the affiliate stuff, but the support has been overwhelming. You guys rule. And what do you get for the NHL membership? You get players and ownership projections, top stacks, tools, line combinations, and the Discord where Haas has returned. He disappeared for 3 weeks, came back randomly, just said hi. It's good. No, but the Discord's great. If you have any strategy stuff, plenty of sharp minds in there to ask strategy questions. Again, if you are a premium member already and you haven't switched your recurring membership from the regular through our affiliate link, please go through the affiliate link that I just posted in the chat. It supports us directly. It helps us bring you more free content. And again, it doesn't have to be NHL memberships. There is, MMA, there's NBA, there's PGA, there's lineup generator stuff, there's Sims. I'm going to be starting to do MMA content weekly, so stay tuned for that. That MMA projections are great. You get the Discord there too. So where did the term slappy as a super fan originate? I don't know. Probably a cartoon. Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, me either. It was probably Jake. He coined the phrase soaker. So I would imagine he also coined the slappy stage or name. I don't know what I'm saying. Los Angeles Kings with a 3 total heading into Dallas. The Stars have a 3.4 total. I know the Kings played yesterday. Did the Stars play yesterday too? There were so many games yesterday. Yeah, Stars are fresh. Kings played yesterday. They were in Carolina. Now they're in Dallas. We're like, yeah, man, we're on Kings too because, that Byfield line hasn't been generating. 3 hours later, bing, Byfield goal, bing, Byfield goal.
Both on the power play, I think.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, not great.
Taking the L there. But, yeah, man, Ottinger came back, hasn't looked great. They called up Matt Murray again. I think it's because Wedgwood got hurt. Just be aware. It's probably going to be Ottinger tonight. Kings back-to-back on the road again, like another back-to-back on the road here. They have a 3 total, which is, pretty large. I think outside of Colorado and Toronto, it's the highest road total on the slate. I don't mind Kings 2 here more. Fiala Dino, like they had a great game yesterday. Like that line is just rolling. It was just always a question of whether they can finish or whatever. Sometimes they have shooting percentage issues. Kevin Fiala is on the top power play. He's been shooting the puck a bunch more. Phil Danault, not always the best DFS player, but an actual good 2C in the NHL. So I don't mind Kings 2 here. The more interesting side for me is Dallas. Now, if you want to go to that top line, I think it's fine. Like I think I would rather play Rangers 2 than Dallas 1 here tonight. You can play Dallas 1. They're coming in with 3.2% projected ownership. It's pretty low. They're under 20,000. I think, it's a fair MME play. I like the Dallas depth again. I like Duchesne, Sagan, Marchment, or I don't even mind Johnson Ben. You can leave Dodonov off if you want. You just got to be aware because Jamie Benn has been yo-yoed on and off the power play for Duchesne the past few games. So that leans me to believe, or that leans me more towards the Duchesne line. Sagan has had an unbelievable season. Marchment has had a great bounce back season. They're only 14.5. That's the price they've been essentially since the beginning of the season. I think my favorite line in this game is Dallas 2.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on Dallas 2 for a couple reasons. One, the Kings penalty kill has been pretty good of late. Part of it's been attributable to the goaltending, but the goaltending's been good. Right? Like talk about slappies. I'm a Cam Talbot slappy, like so sue me. Like that's kind of what it is. And Dave Riddick went yesterday, so it should be Cam Talbot today. And the Kings don't take a lot of penalties. They're below average by time shorthanded per game over the last couple months. So they don't take a lot of penalties. Dallas doesn't draw a lot of power plays. I think that's kind of one thing that gets overlooked with how good their power play actually is they're very productive when they do get power plays, but they're one of the least they're one of the teams with one of the lowest power play opportunities per game over the last 7 weeks. In fact, the only team that's getting fewer power play opportunities is San Jose. So, like, if Dallas doesn't get a lot on the power play, they're going to have to do it all at 5-on-5. And you and I were talking before the show. I took a good chunk of my weekend to slander the Doughty Mikey Anderson pairing, and then they had 2 really good games against Detroit and Carolina. They only won one of them, but I mean, that happens. I think the more interesting thing here is, since Miro Heiskanen got hurt, they've been keeping Thomas Harley away from the top competition. In fact, I went and looked at the Nashville game. He didn't play a single shift against the Forsberg line when Nashville was in town on Friday. That leads me to believe that he's going to be kept against Los Angeles 2 and Los Angeles 3. So I think going back to LA 2 is kind of the play here because, listen, I'm a big fan of Thomas Harley. I will also admit he's a lot better offensively than he is defensively. He's still not a great defensive defenseman. That's why Miro Heiskanen is still far above him on the depth chart. That Kings second line, it was Pierre-Luc Dubois and them did all the damage yesterday, but Trevor Moore got a couple goals. Second line's been really good over their last 10 games, 3.2 expected goals, 3.3 actual goals. They're getting more ice time because that Byfield line hasn't been creating a lot of 5-on-5. The second line has been getting more ice time. Their last 5 games, they've all been between like 18.5 and 19.5 minutes per game. Kevin Fiala over 3 shots per game in his last 10. I'm not really afraid of the middle 6 matchups from Dallas, and I'm not really afraid of their, it's not the second and third pairs because they're going to see Thomas Harley. I'm not afraid of that matchup either. I don't mind Los Angeles 2 here in this matchup. Like, again, back-to-back, that sucks. But they're not coming in with much ownership, 3.4% ownership against a 5.5% top 2 stack. Been playing really, really well, and I think the matchup is a lot better than it lends itself. And as you said, 3.0 total, third highest for any road team here tonight, and it's the highest outside of those elite, Toronto, Colorado matchups. So I do like Los Angeles 2. On the flip side, I think it's Dallas 1 that I kind of prefer. And I only say that because they have been playing a lot better. in their 10 games since Christmas, 3.2 expected goals, 3.5 actual goals per 60 minutes. The big thing is Jason Robertson really starting to come alive. His last 13 games, he's been over he's been right around 4 shots per game, which is what you'd expect from him and not so much what he did over the first couple months of the season. So I do like Dallas 1 here. I think it's Kings 2 that I like best overall in this game. It kind of worries me to fade Dallas in the spot entirely because, the Kings top pair has had some bad games. There's not a ton of ownership coming in on Dallas. I don't have any problem between Dallas 1 or 2. I just think that Los Angeles second line has been playing so well and getting good minutes that they're getting overlooked. And I think the matchup is a little bit better than we might think going into Dallas here tonight.
Yeah. Quick Party says the lines are going to be wildly juggled for Dallas. I went and looked. Pete DeBoer said same group of players. Lines are going to be different.
Well, yeah. I mean, they nuked them in the third. When you have to nuke your lines against Chicago, I think that makes sense. If anything, I think it's probably going to be like leaving Jason Robertson and Rope Hintz together and then moving Pavelski down, which is something they've done quite a bit. Move Matt Duchene up or something like that. Like, I'm not super worried about it because I do think that eventually they just get back together. But like I said, I'm on the King side of this game anyway. Like, I'm not a big fan of Dallas in this matchup. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. DeBoer did say Hayskin's going to be traveling on the next road trip with them, so that's good news for Dallas. They need him badly. Oh, boy. We got 2 back-to-back doozies here. New York Islanders with a 2.6 total. Heading into Winnipeg, the Jets have a 3.4. Kyle Connor returning tonight. Gabriel Velarde should play. Mark Scheifele out. So what we have in the top stacks right now is Kyle Connor, Gabriel Velarde, Adam Lowry, Nikolai Ehlers, Cole Perfidi, Vladislav Nemestikov. The third line remaining intact, and then Iafallo on the fourth. Now, we were kind of speculating that Iafallo will be on the second line with Ehlers and Perfidi moves to center, and Nemestikov moves down. That remains to be seen, but that's something to keep an eye on based on how they ran their lines in practice. Lowry was a placeholder on the power play for Velarde. So the top power play is going to be Connor, Velarde, Ehlers. Wasn't Perfidi. I'm drawing a blank. I'll have to go and look. But I don't know. This game is this. I'll go look in a second and I'll update you guys. But Islanders yesterday blew up their lines, or was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Everything blends together. Islanders blew up their lines. Palmieri got hurt or he got benched in the third. Julien Gauthier was moving around the lineup. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't have a ton of faith. Thank you. Quick Party. Been trying to get this guy to get tattoos for years. He was always into it. Now he has like more than I do in like 3 months. But power play 1 was Kyle Connor, Lowry, Iafallo, Ehlers, Morrissey. Yeah, there you go. So it's probably going to be Velarde in Lowry's spot. So Kyle Connor, Velarde, Iafallo, Ehlers, Morrissey. There we go. Thank you. Islanders completely blew up their lines. I don't know, man. Like, they've been going to these weird lines. They've been going back to the old lines. They're blowing up their old lines. They're blowing up their new lines. I don't have much faith in the Islanders here tonight. The one thing that would have me have some interest in the Islanders is the Winnipeg center depth is with Scheifele out is atrocious. Again, like 2.6 road total, same as the Ducks, lower than Arizona, lower than the Kings we just talked about. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I want to hinge my night on Islanders on the road with Hellebuck and net with Kyle Connor back. I like Winnipeg 1 here. I know Adam Lowry doesn't do too much for me. But Kyle Connor coming back, he is expensive. But when Scheifele was in between Kyle Connor and Velarde, that line was rolling. And Kyle Connor and Velarde in a smaller sample have very good offensive numbers together. They're on the power play together. Islanders' penalty kill has been pretty bad. I would also have some interest in Winnipeg 2 here. I want to see what it is. Like if Cole Perfidi does move to center, that line would probably be 3 wingers on DraftKings, which might be a bit annoying. But a line of Ehlers, Perfidi, Iafallo would interest me a bunch. So I like Winnipeg here.
Yeah, I also do like Winnipeg. I don't think that'll be that big of a surprise. It's the Winnipeg top line that I do like here. What I noticed, I looked at, and I mean Lowry, Velarde, and Connor. I was looking at their matchups when Philadelphia was in town on Saturday. They kept the Lowry line away from Philadelphia's top line pretty much the entire game. That's kind of important for this matchup because the Islanders' second and third lines have really been struggling defensively this season. Like, there's a reason why the Islanders have been blowing up their lines. And that's the matchup that Winnipeg top line will probably see a fair bit of here tonight. Not only that, like, I know Adam Lowry is not like a super popular name, but he's a good player. And I was looking at some of his playmaking data a little bit earlier. His like scoring chance assist rate over the last couple seasons, which is, just the rate that he assists on teammate scoring chances per minute at 5-on-5. It's basically a second line rate. Like he's a good playmaker, certainly good, digging pucks out on the, cycle forecheck and all that. Larry Velarde Connor's not coming in with a ton of ownership, which I thought they might. 6.5% ownership, 7.9%. Top 2 stack percentage. They're not that expensive at $17,400. Like, yes, at that price, you can't play Edmonton and you can't play Colorado or whatever. Like, it would have to be a lineup that goes elsewhere. But I'm not afraid of those Islanders middle 6 matchups whatsoever. And the Islanders penalty kill stays bad. And like missing Scheifele off the power play, like that hurts. But I think this Islanders penalty kill is honestly bad enough to still give it up to Winnipeg. So I really do like Winnipeg 1 in this matchup. I have no problem dropping down to Winnipeg 2 if you want to go with the cheaper stack. I just have a little bit more faith that Lowry, Connor, and Velarde is actually going to be the line that we see at warmups. And 2, you're going to get at least 2 of those guys on the top power play unit with Adam Lowry, I think kind of an underrated player. It's Winnipeg 1 that I like best in this game overall by quite a bit. We do have to mention the Islanders because there's just not a lot of ownership coming in on them. Top stacks has them at 1.1% owned, 3.9% top 2 stack percentage. The one thing that Winnipeg does struggle with is their penalty kill, and it's one thing that the Islanders actually do pretty well is put together a good power play. Single entry, I'd rather play 6% Winnipeg top line than a 1% Winnipeg top line or Islanders top line in this matchup. But I don't think that if I was playing a lot of lineups, I would seriously be considering that Islanders top line because at 1%, like they have been really, really good offensively their last 10 games, 3.5 expected goals, 3.5 actual goals per 60 minutes. They were good in the 10 games before that. The only reason they ever got broken up is because the rest of the lines weren't playing well. With them back together, ostensibly, I don't mind this spot for Islanders 1 at all, but it is the Winnipeg top line I like best.
Yeah, and on this slate, you got to consider them because let's break it down. San Jose Sharks with a 2.6 total heading into Chicago. The Hawks have a 2.9. Wow. So here's the thing, right? A quote from David Quinn a few hours ago said that the team is battling some illness and some injuries, and he's not going to reveal his lines until warmups tonight. That is actually kind of important against the Hawks. And I know you're saying, well, it's the Hawks, they're terrible, but why? The Dickinson-Joey Anderson line is legitimately one of the best defensive lines in the NHL. And it's pretty bonkers to say that, but just go look at their numbers. They're insane. And that's the line that Hurdle's going to see a fair bit of, which makes me want to go to San Jose 2 here. And that's probably going to be a Mikael Granlund line. And that gives me heart palpitations. But, you have to consider it. So we'll have to see what the second line is. If Eklund's there, if Zetterlund's there, if Duclair's there, Zadina. They have a ton of moving parts. Barabanov, I don't know. Like if it's like Granlund, Eklund, Duclair, that's a line I'll have interest in. If it's Granlund, Zetterlund, Duclair, something like that, I'll have a little bit of interest there. Like avoiding the Dickinson, Joey Anderson, Colin Blackwell line is actually kind of important. Like Kurashev, Radish, Pitlick have been decent defensively, but it's nothing where like it's nothing close to like Dickinson and Anderson. So I think it's San Jose too, whomever that is, and they're all similarly priced. So like you're not gonna have to be making like a $4,000 swap. I don't know if I'm going to play them in single entry. Like, I wish this game fell into a sinkhole and it just disappeared. But like, it's on the slate. It's a 5.5 total. But like, even bad teams score some goals occasionally. The interesting thing is like Chicago is getting a lot of ownership, more than the Sharks. Kurashev, Radish, Pitlick top line 10,700, 1.2% top two stack, 8.9% projected ownership. Dickinson, Blackwell, Joe Anderson, 10,200. Under 1% top two, 7% projected ownership. Like, and I get it because you can fit them in with Colorado power play or Edmonton. It's just like I'd rather spend a little bit more money and play the Sharks or go play a cheaper line that isn't the Blackhawks when they don't have Bedard. You know what I mean? Like, I know the Sharks are terrible. Their penalty kill isn't great. But like the Chicago power play is nothing. These lines aren't great offensively. So I honestly like at that ownership, it's a fairly easy fade for me for Chicago. If a Chicago line goes off and wins GPPs tonight, I'll eat crow, but I'll wake up tomorrow and enter contests. Like I can't live with myself if I played chalk Chicago without Bedard on this slate.
So I'm kind of struggling with this because in a pretty small sample, admittedly, in a 50-minute sample, the Kurashev Radish numbers without Bedard offensively aren't bad. 70 shot attempts, 2.6 expected goals per 60 minutes. Like you're actually not going to find anything better than that on the Shark side either. Whether that's their actual skill level and over a larger sample against, better teams, et cetera, I doubt it. But it's not like this San Jose team is anything special. Like if they're going up against that San Jose second line on the other side, like the San Jose second line is good offensively. The Granlund line that we talked about, or the Granlund line that we expected with Zetterlund there. But they're well below average defensively themselves. 3.1 expected goals against, 3.1 actual goals against per 60 minutes. There is a case for playing Chicago 1, even at that ownership. I think there's a case for just like taking a one-off Kurashev and then just move along or something like that. Like that feels stupid. But, this is a 5.5 total. Somebody's probably going to score eventually in this game. You can't just overlook it. I don't really hate the idea of playing that Chicago top line. If you want, I think just dipping down and going to like to the Chicago third line and like a Reichel Gutman 2-man or something like that is fine. Like I honestly don't think there is really a big difference between Lucas Reichel and Cole Gutman and Phil Kurashev and Taylor Radish. Like certainly not enough to justify like 3, 4, 5 times higher ownership. You know what I mean? So I kind of think that I'd rather take players from that Chicago third line than anything, but it is the San Jose side that I do like better. I wrote up Fabian Zetterlund in the picks article, over 15 shot attempts per 60 minutes over his last 10 games. He's been playing well. Assuming he's playing with Granlund, I guess we'll find out in warm-ups. The saving grace is, like you said, all these guys are very similarly priced. And in fact, if you go with Granlund and Zetterlund as like a 2-man or whatever, you can fit in any 2-man the San Jose Sharks have because they're as expensive as the Eklund and Hurdle 2-man. So it is San Jose 2 that I do like best in this game. They avoid that shutdown matchup from the Sharks, which has been good. Like Anderson and Dickinson, 2 expected goals against, 1.7 actual goals against, in 175 minutes together this season. That is really good defensive numbers. So yeah, San Jose 2 is what I like best here. I would probably say Chicago 3. I'm going to need to take a shower after this game because that just feels disgusting.
I'm not really sure how we top that. I do like Lucas Reichel, though. I do like him as a player. I just don't know if I can get to him in my single entry tonight. I would probably... I don't know what I'd do. Anyway, Arizona Coyotes with a 2.7 total heading into Calgary. The Flames, the Pilot Lights, have a 3.3 total. Are the Flames back? It's a question we might ask. Maybe. Here we are again with the Flames in a very, very good power play spot. The Flames power play has been a bit better, I will say. Still nothing great. I like the Kadri-Zari Pospisil line again. Like, I would rather play them at 12,100 than anything on Chicago. Hands down. Now, is that the right thing to do? I don't know. I have a wickedly bad bias against the Hawks, and I'm not afraid to admit it. So I do like Calgary 3 here. I think my favorite Calgary line is the Coleman Backlund Mangiapane line. They're coming in with some negative leverage, 7.7% projected. They have been really good of late. I think any of the top 3 lines for Calgary honestly in play here. So if you have a lean, you play them. The Arizona side is a bit more interesting to me. I don't love the top line with McBain there. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like, they're fine. They're coming in at 1.4% top 2 stack, 1.4% projected ownership. I don't mind it. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, but for me, it's Arizona 2 or Arizona 3 that I like more. We talked to Bukestad, Genther, Cooley, and Bukestad went out and had a hat trick against his former team. I don't think he's going to do that again tonight, but like, I don't mind Bukestad, Genther, Cooley again. They're 11,200. It's another line I'd rather play than the Hawks. They're a nice filler line. They're coming in a little bit negatively leveraged. It's fine, but like Arizona 2 and 3, and I think all 3 Calgary lines are in play.
I'll specifically pick out the Calgary top line, the Lindholm, Huberdeau, Sharon Govich line for a few reasons. One, like Sharon Govich and Lindholm just get the ice time. Yeah. They're over 20 minutes a night since they've been not since they've been put together, but certainly over their last handful of games, like over 19 at least. The other is Jonathan Huberdeau on their line was moved to the top power play unit in place of our beloved Connor Zary, RIP to Connor Zary in his minutes per game, because those are certainly going to go down. But that entire line is now correlated on the top power play unit. And you're right, Calgary's power play is not good. Arizona's penalty kill is terrible. Second most shots against over the last 6 weeks on the PK in the NHL. Now, they haven't been taking as many penalties as they were earlier in the season, but that is a lot of shots to give up while you're shorthanded. And that Calgary top line's not coming in with that much ownership. Bring up top stacks again, 3% ownership, 2.8 top 2 stack percentage. Like, there's just not a lot of people playing this Calgary line, even though they're perfectly correlated. Like, this is a perfectly correlated top line where at least 2 of the guys are almost certainly going to play over 19 minutes. Sharon Govich has been shooting that puck a ton of late. They're facing a team with a bad penalty kill, and they're 3% owned at home. Like, I hate saying I believe in the Flames, because God knows how often they burned me, pun certainly intended. But I do like Calgary 1 quite a bit in this game. Where things get interesting is the Arizona side, because Jacob Markstrom is hurt. So is Dan Vladar starting tonight? It's a pretty big step down from going from Markstrom to Vladar. Now, anything can happen from goaltenders in a single game. Vladar could have a 33-save shutout and just laugh in our faces here tonight. But it's the Kerfoot-Michelli line, Kerfoot-Michelli-Krause, that I kind of like, because Michelli had seen a shot rate dip a little bit, but that has certainly come back up. Of late, he's skating 16.5 to 17.5 minutes. In fact, the entire line skating about that. So they're getting decent amounts of ice time, not a lot of ownership, 1.1% ownership. You don't need them to score like 3 goals or whatever to get good value out of them in a stack. So I think that line with the ice time that they're getting, they're gonna avoid the backline line almost certainly quite a bit at 5-on-5 at least. Kerfoot is on the top power play unit for what it's worth, but they're going to face Dan Vladar, and I feel like they're getting kind of overlooked for a filler stack here tonight. So I do like Arizona too, the Krause line a little bit, but it's the Huberdeau, Lindholm, Sharangovich line that I like best in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, we should just end the game or end the slate on a circus, so let's do that. Toronto Maple Leafs with a 3.2 total heading into Edmonton. The Oilers have a 3.7. Party Marty Jones confirmed for the Leafs. It's 2024. What are we doing? Pontus Holmberg, top line for the Leafs. It's 2024. What are we doing, Keith? It's just like, what are the Leafs doing? They're going with Matthews, Nylander, Holmberg, Marner. Is Marner on the third line? No. It's Tavares, Marner, Knees, and then Yarncroc, Bertuzzi, Domi. Glad we got that out of the way.
No, yeah. It's Nice, Tavares, Nylander, Holmberg, Matthews, Marner.
Yeah. So, like, what this says to me is the only line that Keefe really trusts in a defensive zone start is the Matthews line. That's why they put Holmberg there. He's a good defensive player. Offensively, he's a guy. So you have Colorado 1 on this slate with a 9 million % top 2 stack percentage at 22.7 or whatever it is. And they're like 30% projected. Then you have Edmonton 1 here at 24-1. They're $1,400 more with a 30.5% top 2 stack percentage. Coming in only at 8% projected. Like, the Leafs are not good. They're not good defensively. We're waiting for the other shoe to drop with Marty Jones. Like, it's coming. There's a reason he started the season in the minors.
It's kind of already started, hasn't it? 8 goals against in his last 2 games.
That's just classic Martin Jones. So, like, it's gonna come. It might come tonight. What are you gonna say? Like, Edmonton 1 is probably my favorite stack of the night. We say that every time, and it's just like, I feel bad saying it, but like, it's true. Their production hasn't gone down. They're still almost 5 goals per 60 minutes. They're getting a Leafs line that they're trying to put Pontus Holmberg up in the top line to maybe slow them down. This is a good power play spot. I love Edmonton 1 here. You want to go to Edmonton 2? I think that's perfectly fine as well. They're getting a bit pricey. But, like, once you get past that Matthews line, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. So I don't mind Edmonton 2. It just feels bad not having McDavid in a stack. So, like, I'm in on Edmonton top 6, Edmonton power play. The Leafs lines are where it gets a little bit interesting because let's call a spade a spade. The Oilers suck in that too. So, like, I think you got to consider some Toronto here. It's just these lines are atrocious, man. I don't know why they broke up Matthews and Marner.
I will say, I mean, I like Edmonton 1 the best in this game. Like, they're the most expensive line, but they're still just absolutely crushing. 100 minutes together since Christmas, 4.4 expected goals, 4.3 actual goals per 60 minutes. They all skate 20 to 22 minutes a night. McDavid has started shooting more. He's over 4 shots per game over his last 5 games. That was kind of the thing that I didn't like about rostering him earlier in the season, is that he wasn't shooting a lot. That has certainly gone up. The big part is like as much as we like to make fun of the Leafs, they've generally had a good penalty kill over the last few years. Their penalty kill, basically since the start of December, has been terrible. Like, we talked about how bad the Arizona penalty kill is. This Leafs penalty kill is giving up more goals per minute than that Arizona penalty kill. We talked about how bad the Islanders penalty kill is. This Leafs team is giving up more shots per minute on the penalty kill than the Islanders over the last 6 weeks. This is a very bad PK for Toronto. And if you have a bad PK coming into Edmonton, you could be in for a very long night. And then you add Party Marty Jones on top of that. I really do like Edmonton 1. They're just really, really expensive, and it kind of limits what you can do with the rest of your lineup. I wouldn't advocate taking out McDavid and replacing him with Draisaitl to save some money. But if you wanted to do just a Draisaitl, like Nugent Hopkins too, man. Like, if Edmonton gets there tonight, a lot of it's gonna come through the power play. So I wouldn't not roster Leon Draisaitl tonight. It is like all the top power play guys I really like. On the Toronto side, like, this Edmonton team is good defensively. I think they really get slandered, and don't get me wrong, I love slandering the Oilers, but we talk about penalty kills, 7th fewest shots against, 5th fewest actual goals against on the PK over that same 6-week stretch. And you look at 5-on-5, they're top 5 by expected goals against, top 5 by actual goals against per 60 minutes. This Oilers team's been really, really good defensively, at the very least, since Knobloch took over. I don't have a problem playing the Matthews-Nylander line, specifically because there's not a lot of ownership. Like, if I was playing 20 lineups here tonight, I would probably have Toronto 1 in at least one of them, because they are so good that they can, get there even against a pretty good defensive team in Edmonton, especially where Edmonton is above average by time shorthanded per game, or below average, depending on how you want to look at it. They take more than the league average. But it is Edmonton 1 that I like here. I think that this Toronto penalty kill is probably going to get exposed here tonight. I think Martin Jones is almost certainly going to get exposed here tonight against Edmonton. It's just figuring out what to do with the rest of your lineup because they are so expensive.
Yeah. That is always the fun part if you're going to go the Oilers route, because they are getting very, very pricey. What an 8-gamer we have, man. Wow. Like, this is one of the more wild slates of the year, and it never fails that DraftKings has a special GPP tonight, whether they butchered it or not. It's here. Let's talk a little bit about defensemen, shall we? We shall. 2 guys at the top of the board that stick out, obviously, are Makar and Bouchard. Makar 8,400, Bouchard 7K. Like, Bouchard's been in the high 6s for a while, so 7K flat. Not big of a surprise there. Don't mind Mackenzie Weegar. Josh Morrissey's in a good power play spot. Jan Carlson's in a very good power play spot. So, like, there's a lot of choices up at the top end here that I like. If you do go, Edmonton 1 plus Bouchard, it's going to get wildly pricey, and you're going to have to, like, really, really get creative. But, like, that might be a way to get super low ownership. But who else you liking on the blue line?
Makar and Morrissey are at the top of my list. Like, it's going to be really, like, I know it's back-to-back on the road and all that for Makar, but it's going to be really tough to leave him off against this Ottawa team. The mid-price range, I think there are a lot of very viable options. At the top of my list are Thomas Harley, John Carlson, and Devin Taves. Thomas Chabot, not a bad power play spot, considering everything that Colorado is kind of going through, both with injuries in their schedule right now. Adam Fox is kind of interesting to me as well. Like, he's not going to carry much ownership. He's been shooting the puck a little bit more of late. I think getting Kako back kind of helps, even offensively, because it'll keep the puck out of the defensive zone more often when that top line is on the ice. So I honestly don't hate Adam Fox here tonight either. I think there's some really cheap guys. Jamie Oleksiak was honestly the first defenseman that I put on my list because he grades out real well with both Vince Dunn and Adam Larson out. Alexiak had to play like 28 minutes last night. What I mentioned in the picks article, he's like off the top of my head, he's like 93rd percentile in the league for block shots per minute. And this is a guy that might have to play 25 minutes here tonight. I like Alexiak on DK quite a bit. Sam Girard for Colorado. Alex Romanov from the Islanders. Also some cheap guys to consider, like definitely Jackson Lacombe, 2,700 on DK running the Anaheim power play. Will Borgen might also have to play more minutes for Seattle with all their injuries. Nils Lundqvist, I hate to say it, Josh, but he's looked good for Dallas since Heiskanen went down. I've watched a couple of those games. He's been getting more ice time of late, running the second power play unit, all that stuff. I don't hate him for 2,900. If you need a stone min punt, Travis Dermott at 2,500.
I'll also add Riker Evans min price. He played 22 minutes with those guys out. Didn't the Nils Lundqvist first round pick turn into the guy who's on that guy? Never mind. We don't have time. Who you liking for your hat trick pick?
Goalies. We got to talk about goalies for a sec. I wrote up Lucas Dostal in the picks article just because Anaheim does typically give up a lot of shots, but Washington typically doesn't score a lot of goals. So I don't mind Lucas Dostal, assuming like he gets to start here tonight. Connor Hellebuck at home against the Islanders, I think, is perfectly fine as well. I have Peter Mrazek rated in my top 5, which feels pretty gross right now, but San Jose really does struggle to score. Connor Ingram on the road against Calgary. I think he makes sense against a Calgary team that has been scoring a bit more of late, but typically doesn't score a lot. And, with Vladar in net, I think there's a bit more win equity for Ingram as well.
Yeah, like there isn't one goalie that I truly like here tonight. Like I honestly might consider just spending up for Hellebuck. But like if I'm going to spend down, it would be Ingram. I wonder if they run out Sorokin again because they pulled him and put Appleby in. So like I don't know. We'll see. But like there just isn't something that's really sticking out. If you like a guy, you put, like with goalies, if you like somebody, just play him. Like it's just a mess.
Unless it's Martin Jones. You shouldn't like Martin Jones.
Yeah. Just please don't. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick for real this time?
We're going to Ottawa. We're going to the second line. We're going to Vladdy Tarasenko.
Rangers legend, Vladimir Tarasenko. I'm going Matthias Michelli.
Oh, that's spicy. I like that. He's just turning into one of my favorite players to watch. Like he's the guy I watch whenever I watch Arizona these days. Obviously, I still like watching Keller.
We need Barrett Hayton back for so we can start touting that top line again.
Yeah.
But we will be back. Today's Tuesday. We'll be back Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 3 in a row for you guys. Thank you guys so much for the support. You guys rock. Good luck tonight. Especially if you're playing. I don't know. We are a team. No, like if you're in the 111, good luck finishing second to me. But yeah, good luck everybody, and we'll see you in the Discord.
Good luck tonight, everyone.